gentlemen, we're live.
What's going down? Mega Neads Show. Mega Needs Sonic Gardens.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the mAng and Neads Show, live on Sonic Gardens Radio. We didn't have a guest today, so I figured I'd bring up an old 2 years ago. This is Zach Rowland performing at the old studio. And we're going to give you some of his songs and get back to our banter and the usual topics of the day. In the meantime, this is Zach Rowland.
Mega Needs Show.
I ain't been home. I ain't been home. No mountain mama on these long roads. No dog for love. But I'm all alone. No friends or father. I ain't been home. I'm scared to cry, I'm scared to cry. High on the bottle, I curse the sky. Does mama know? I stop praying at night. I learn to shut my mouth and I'm scared to cry. It's live or die, it's live or die. Does she even know how much we fight? Is this all wrong? Does this feel right? Too late to turn back now and it's live or die.
Yeehaw.
All right. And we're back here in the studio once again. 50
Live.
days, 50 episodes.
5-0.
Happy to have everybody here. Anybody that's returning
50.
continues to watch, listen. We appreciate it. Anybody new, just visiting, please hit that subscribe button.
Tell
like,
your cousin.
comment, and help us grow the channel.
50.
We appreciate it. So, yeah, what's up, Uwa?
Hello there.
Hello there.
We've got 50 today.
So,
Today's a Monday.
yeah,
Imagine that.
is it? Oh, yeah, Monday.
It's the 4th of May.
So, just to keep this going with entertainment, I'm pulling up an old footage, like I said, from May 14th of 2018. This
Back
is
in the
that was
day.
Zach Rowland. He came in here. He's from over towards the Georgetown area.
Oh, boy.
But he travels a lot, and he came in and did this set, about a 50-minute set, and did some songs, which I also recorded. I've played the songs previously on even the mAng and Neads and
He's a traveler.
stuff. So there is a video if you want to catch this whole set. There is a video of this on the Sonic Gardens YouTube.
There's always
If you
a
go to
video.
go to our channel, it's under the Take One Sessions playlist, or you could just type Zach Rowland into YouTube, and I imagine you might just get this video to pop up. And again, that's our old Sonic Gardens studio, and yeah,
Yeah, man.
it was cool. It was cool, but the new place is a lot better.
Way
Anybody that's visited
better.
both knows that.
Went over to the old one today.
Yeah, we had to try and recover some items.
Couldn't find Dick.
Couldn't find it, huh? What were we looking for again? I couldn't
Not
remember.
Dick, but we didn't find that either.
That's what he was looking for.
Yeah, we were looking for the old Moonhill Gang poster.
Oh yeah, Moonhill Band poster. I have like a really sweet Moonhill Band like flyer poster.
Could not find it. Couldn't do it.
No, I couldn't find it. I've had it for so long. I think I already recovered it and did something to keep it safe, but I just can't remember where. It's probably just in a stack of prints that I have.
It's probably in safekeeping.
Let's just hope. No, actually, I wanted to get that because I wanted JB to take a picture of it.
Right.
And make some new ones and also get a good picture for when we play the Moonhill Band music.
Right. Ta-da!
Yeah. Well, I imagine we can't really. We probably should.
What should we do?
Think about playing one of those songs at some point.
Today?
Can't talk about Moonhill Band without playing one of the songs.
Right.
That's for sure.
Right. What do you got? You got something in there? Queued up? Don Quixote? What do you got in there, Don Quixote?
Well, no, I don't have anything queued up, but we could
Oh.
go to another Zach Rowland tune.
Well, what did you see last night? Anything?
Anything good? I did have a couple.
Here.
A couple.
Here he.
Exciting things.
Really?
No, I don't know how exciting.
Getting married or something?
Where was it? No. Let's see.
Well,
Oh man, what did I see? Oh,
what are you
that's
doing?
why.
Surfing the web?
No, they bombarded me with something over top. 370 workers at a pork plant in Missouri
Oh no, Missouri.
tested positive for coronavirus. All were asymptomatic.
Oh
And
boy.
this was Monday today.
Yep. Imagine that out there in the Midwest. They're
So,
all asymptomatic.
Yeah, so 373 employees and contract workers at Triumph Foods in Buchanan County, Missouri have tested positive for coronavirus. All of them were asymptomatic, according to press release from the Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services. State of Missouri has reported 8,386 cases and 352 deaths statewide as of Sunday night, according to the Health Department website. Triumph pork processing plant is located in St. Joseph on the border of Missouri-Kansas. It is just one of dozens of meatpacking plants and food processing facilities across the country that have seen outbreaks of the virus, forcing shutdowns and sparking concerns of possible food shortages. This was kind of what I was thinking about lately was
Getting your own pig for the backyard over there?
well, that and
By the church?
no, but food shortages and the way that this is all kind of
I think you should get a
slow
pig.
playing. Everybody's still paying their bills that just want to be good citizens and don't want it to be stacked up. But we're really thinking we should be saving all our money,
Right.
But it doesn't mean they'd stop. I imagine it still puts you like a credit card payment.
Right.
You miss a credit card payment,
You
and,
fucked.
Yeah, they throw 26% of everything you have ever have on there.
I never
And
had a
then-
credit card, man.
and
Never
then,
was fortunate enough.
Well,
I got good.
fortunate, you mean it's kind of smart.
Angelo, I got good credit too, man.
You can't tell me you don't get the mail that says, "Yo, dude, have one," and you're like, "I'm ripping this up."
Well, yeah, I'm sure I got it.
Well, see, the thing about it is you got to use them in your advantage, and there's certain cards like the Discover.
Use them and then pay them right off. Is that how you do it?
Well, yeah, you got to use them and pay them right off, but you use the card. I mean, unless you get laxed up. Like I did some investments in the studio that I kind of charged and I'm paying.
Oh.
But
Now you're paying
like
for
okay,
it.
so there's like American Express. You have to pay American Express off. Like if you get their card and they're
Yeah.
like, "Here you go," but then when that date comes, you pay or the thing gets shut off.
Really?
like
Oh,
that.
they don't let you run it up.
No, I mean they do, but only sometimes it's a percentage, and it depends on where you fit, in your what kind of card you get, But like I had a business card with the company, and it's unlimited. But they're like, that doesn't mean you can just buy anything you want. It means they look at your spending patterns, and obviously you got to pay it off. So like if you want to spend, so much a month, you have to build up to that and show them that you pay it back each month.
I'd like to spend a lot.
And then there's like, now American
I don't
Express
have it.
doesn't necessarily get taken everywhere, but it's a great card for that.
Right.
And then
Discover.
Discover, yeah, they got a good one because they have like every 3 months there's a certain things that are 5% back. So whether it's like gas stations or whether it's restaurants, like they switch it up.
Oh.
You know, around the holiday time, it's Amazon. You know, you get a 5% for every dollar you spend.
One quick story. It has nothing to
Or
do with
whatever.
any of that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, stupid credit card information.
No. I
But
want
there
to
is
know
a
about
lot
it, but I
there is
just
a lot of people that
while
don't
you were talking
have
about
them,
that, I just thought of what happened yesterday.
So you get fortunate. You're fortunate to not take one out because you always live within that means and you make it that way.
Right.
You're unfortunate because you don't get those rewards that
Oh
you
yeah,
get from
give
the money,
me the rewards
from actual money
cocksucker.
that you spend. I mean, I have like a since I was young, it's like cash is king, man.
It is.
And if you spend cash on something, you're not getting
Rewarded.
You're not getting like a receipt. It's not getting documented anywhere that you
Right.
spent. So if you go buy food, it doesn't get documented anywhere that you bought food. So there's no way to break down like your end expenses, you know, taxes type thing
Right.
to say, yeah, man, I spent this much money, you know, because you get certain write-offs for, you know, food is in there with entertainment. So like if you're a business and you're writing stuff off, you know, when you go to dinner, it's part of your meals and entertainment for the business. You know, if you go to a movie that like you're taking a customer, I guess you wouldn't take a customer to a movie necessarily, but whatever, you're buying them a meal or, you know, you're going for a drive. So gas ends up, you know, that's one of those things that's right off, but it's not fully. It's like meals and entertainment are like 50%.
Meals on
So
wheels.
50%. Tools are like 100%. So like if you're a company and you're buying hammer drills and, you know, or whatever you do, nail guns,
You can write that all off.
you write that off totally 100%.
Total.
Yeah.
All right.
Little tax lesson. Like
Yeah.
I know anything. I know a little bit about
Yeah,
that
you
stuff.
do. You obviously do. Yesterday, I come down the hill to come down here. I stopped and got gas, right? Went
Uh-huh.
in, paid. But I did a odd number of gas. 250 or 2050, right? So I go out, get my car and left. Never pumped the fucking gas, Ange. I started headed home yesterday and I looked at my thing and I'm like, it's on empty. You stopped and got gas. So then I realized I'm like, you never fucking pumped it, you fuckhead. So I went back there and the lady, oh man, she was having a rough day. She didn't have any teeth. So
she couldn't bite you.
right. She wasn't very helpful either. But I knew who was working and I was confident myself that no one just pulls up and pumps gas usually. You know what I mean? So
Right.
And after a certain like I don't know, I think it's like 2 or 3 minutes it shuts off because I paid for gas, went outside and then like did some stuff to my vehicle, especially when you're on the road and then you go to pump gas and it's shut off already. You got to go back in and tell them to turn it back on. So anyways, so it shut off or something. So I knew like my money was somewhere. So when I stopped this morning, the lady's like, I just deposited it. And then I'm like, well, like, so you know it's me. And it was a whole different lady or whatever, but they knew because when I rolled up and said, told her
dumb.
what happened.
Yeah, it's hard to go in there all like, I know what's up. Because
Yeah.
you totally.
$20.50. Like, how could you, right?
Oh, yeah. So that definitely made that.
How would you, yeah, not many people just roll into, I'll prepay $20.50.
Right.
But I happened to do that. So she gave me the money back.
Ah.
I'm like, well, what do you want me to? She's like, I just deposit. I'm like, well, do I need to come back? Like, this is my gas station. I'll be back. I just need to know, like, I need that 2050 bad. Now she give it to me though, so that was good this morning. I was like, because then I had to get gas when I went home anyways, so I got 20 something. And I'm like, man, I got $20 worth of gas, but I paid 40 something until tomorrow. So that was my
Did you
story.
Okay, so I have one that is That's
I've done that a bunch of times, but I never fucking, like, usually I leave and get down the road
yeah.
a minute or two and then turn around. Like, I've never fucking left and been gone all fucking day and then come through like 12 hours or 7 hours later.
Yeah, that is crazy.
So, yeah, what do you
Well,
what do you
here's
do?
mine.
What'd you
Mine
do?
was the Pennsylvania Turnpike.
Ooh, PA.
Stopped at a rest area, heading north. Okay. Stopped
Right.
at the travel plaza, we'll call that, because it's not exactly a rest area. You
Right.
remain on the interstate.
Yeah, you do.
I paid for my gas, super
Right.
busy, bought some chips, a drink, got a coffee, gave the whole 9 yards. This was a long time ago. Filled up on supplies, jumped back to my car, took off, got up the road, and realized I didn't pump the gas.
Had to do a U-turn.
But not only a U-turn, I had to go all the way to the exit.
Yeah, you did.
Because it is the PA Turnpike, so you can't just U-turn and then hand them a ticket. They'll be like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I don't worry. I got a story for that one. I
Yeah,
did that.
so-
They charged me the whole fee of the
Yeah.
thing because I didn't have the ticket. And my stupid thing
And
is
yeah.
I should have just switched with the other person that
Yeah.
and then we could have switched, but we didn't.
Ah, good one. So, and
18.
like we said, that can be
18.50.
anywhere from like 12 to 15 miles between exits.
Right.
So I ended up hitting another close to 15 minutes to hit my exit, U-turn, get back on, go past the travel plaza, because also on the Pennsylvania Turnpike, the travel plaza for the left side, or for the north side, is not the same travel plaza for the south side. So not only did I have to pass that travel plaza driving, I had to drive another 10 or 15 miles to get to the next exit, U-turn again, and then another 15 miles. So it literally was over an hour.
But you didn't run out of gas, luckily.
I did not run out of gas, luckily. I paid a lot extra in tolls and got home a lot later.
I was just done you could have done a U-turn, got in there, got gas, done another U-turn, right? Or did a U-turn and then did a U-turn to hit your spot.
Right.
Yeah, it's a lot of U-turns.
Yep.
That's a lot of U-turns.
Okay, so story of the day for me that I saw.
Today? News. Now we're news and
back to news.
News.
Because I had another good one that I wanted to pump out there,
All
and
right.
I'll see if I can find the actual footage so you can hear this. But
pump out
this
the jam.
is we all know our friend from the InfoWars, loosely friend, Alex Jones.
I don't. Wait,
got
he's
himself.
he's
He
the
is-
guy I seen in the getting in trouble or something, or not lately, but before.
Well,
I don't know. who the
Yeah,
fuck
Alex
he is.
got
butt
yeah.
plugged.
He's
But-
been fighting the government forever, but
Oh,
he goes too
boy.
far.
Here he
He's
is.
the guy that starts screaming about lizards and everything. But anyway, he had Alex Jones warns neighbors on his radio show he will cut them into cutlets like filet mignon and eat your leftist ass if his and his daughters are starving during lockdown. And
Wait,
I
what?
watched him say it, so he's so funny. Well, he's like he's not a comedian. He presents it like it's real news. Okay,
This is a guy he's got
over
a
the
big
top.
head. This guy got a big head.
He's over the top, and I got to pull it up. But if you saw how he is, he's basically like, "Yep, I've already reached that point. I'm ready. My daughters aren't starving to death. I'll eat my neighbors. I'll eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready." He blasted.
This is Al
And then-
Franken.
Yeah, and he was just saying that
Jonesy?
he's like, I got plenty of food, because he's also like a doomsday prepper kind of always pitches that stuff on the show, InfoWars,
He's what is he? He's a Republican.
Yeah, but he's a Trumper, but he's not really a Republican.
Oh,
He is. He's not. He's definitely not a Democrat, but he was he really has been riding every president forever, but because he was, he would ride Bush, so he wasn't, but he's like alt-right. He's InfoWars, man. They're like the alt-right, super alt-right, which means Bush wasn't right wing enough for him.
Did you see that old Michelle Obama? She finally come out. She was upset at the black voters because they didn't It was on Netflix. I think she was on Netflix or something. But it was, I seen the thing. She was mad because the black voters really didn't come out and vote for Hillary. And she really thinks that's a lot to do with why we're in our situation we're in now. Yeah. So that drives home what I've been saying about old Dirty Joe. Old fucking, whatever they call him. What's Trump call him? Sloppy Joe? Or what's he call him?
Warner was just
Stinky Joe? What's he call him? He calls him something. Trump, right?
Joe. Sleepy Joe.
Oh, Sleepy Joe.
Yeah.
There we go. Not Sloppy Joe. Sleepy. What the fuck's Warner doing?
Yeah, he just called texting that he was in. So yeah, I have
he is a special one.
Yeah, man, that was crazy. So here's Alex Jones is like leading. He's also leading Reopen America.
Is this a video?
Reopen America protests. These are just videos I'm looking at, or pictures I'm looking at right now. To end the martial law.
He likes to look at pictures, folks.
Well, they banned him from YouTube.
Oh.
So.
Well, he sounds like a douche. I mean.
Well, they banned him.
How are you supposed to get your content out there if you're banned?
Exactly.
Does he say it banned or banned? Play the clip. play the
one where he says banned.
Trump a bunch of times. He says it right.
Yeah, that was I was on one of the past videos. I can't remember.
Yeah, I like it.
I got one.
We should have the clip. Oh, you got a video?
I'm gonna pull up the Alex Jones video. Fuck it. Oh, you know what though? They might pull it.
Oh no! Why?
Because
tell me why.
The only thing you can really
he's syndicated. Oh
no, he got banned. So I'm thinking they might ban us for playing his bullshit.
Oh well, what do they got? An Alex Jones filter, and then it's like douche alert.
They did. Here's a funny one that I'd be willing to risk on that.
Well, come on, it's early in the show.
Let's see.
Who is it? Who is it?
They did a Burl Ives version of
what?
Of quotes and things that he says on the radio show.
Oh.
But they did it to like a Burl Ives song.
Oh.
And it's like, so it's crazy because the lyrics, you wouldn't believe that.
What do they say? Suck it.
Yeah. Oh. No, so there was this one that just, it's quite hilarious.
He doesn't read and talk, folks. Don't do it.
No, I need you to talk for me. Oh. What else?
I didn't know what the fuck you're doing. That's the thing is I start asking questions and then I ask a question and you're reading so you don't hear it and then I'm just sitting here like a fucking bump a pickle.
What question did you ask me?
Forgot. I'm not I don't. That ideas and stuff, man, they just roll through. They're not like, they're just quick. And if I don't say them when it's time to say them, then I just lose it. It's not even a train of thought, really. It's just like, I don't know. It's like I see it in the air there. So I say, so I know to say a thought. But yeah, what do you got? You got some other video, or you got Zach back?
The company store, the paradigm of absolute control. And that's why we're just out here doing simple things, pointing out that we're meant to be in nature and be natural. And this is where we find the source that God made to transcend the New World Order. And that's why they want to try to keep us out of it.
I'm angry. Enough of these people. They're a bunch of Christian murderers scum. They're on giant death factories keeping babies alive and selling their body parts. What more do you need to know about these people? I go out and face these scum. They literally crawl out from under rocks. They have green looking skin and they run around screaming, we love Satan, we wanna eat babies. I have them on video.
Right? Could you see that video when it was going to? So they line up like his actual, when he says these things. And that's what's just so, you can see him right now. He gets so into it, man. And like, I don't know. He's huge though. Huge. This guy's loaded. Like as he's saying that on the one I was watching, they were saying how he was he was ready to string them up. He's like, I'm looking at them right now, saying they'd look like good, tasty filet mignons next to me. I'm ready. If it comes down to it, I'm not gonna let my daughter starve, And he's just going on right then. I saw him the other day. I was sizing them up, think about what they'd look like hung up, and like so. This dude's riling people up. And meanwhile, then the person that did the video points out that freaking
is the video playing? Is the
Oh, you're just listening.
I'm blasted.
Yeah, you're just hearing the.
I can barely hear you talking.
I'm giving you this then. I didn't give it to the audience there.
Oh, I'm out here jamming to it, dude. Who wrote that? Who sings that song? Who sings that?
That is the internet. That's how they do it.
Who sings that? That's a good one, dude.
But did you hear what I said?
I didn't hear a fucking word you said, Ange. I'm telling you, dude, you had that music so loud, but it was good. I was smiling at here. I liked it.
All right, so those
I heard you like a faint thing, like you were like,
and you can see the TV screen you're looking at.
Yeah.
So you can.
He does have a big head. I was right.
So you can tell that's what he's saying. Like he's really saying these things, and they just put him to these lax lyrical songs. Like in doing like indie folk versions.
But you don't know whose song it is?
I guess I'm sure there'd be credit to it if
right.
I go back.
Oh yeah, I like it.
No,
what the audience didn't hear that though.
They heard the beginning, and then I cut it. I didn't want it to be on too long. I didn't want our video to get cut for like another song. I think I think songs do it. It's on Spotify.
Oh, it is.
Nick Lutzko. So
fucking
shout out to Nick Lutzko.
Big Dick Nick Lutzko.
For Super Deluxe, deleted all my old videos, so I'm re-uploading here. Cheers. Composed, performed, and edited by Nick Lutzko. So he did the whole thing, yeah. Good job, Nick. This is a great one. It's like one of my favorites.
Classic.
One of my favorites because, I've heard the things that this guy says, and literally, so he's saying, we want to eat babies. He's quoting what he thinks Democrats are, so he's like, I have them on video.
Who? Wait, you got me all fucked up. Now I feel like I'm fucking...
All right, every lyric of that song is things that he has said on his show.
Right.
And, like, they pull him up, so they take different clips of it.
Right.
Who's that? Whose mother? Over her head. What the hell? That woman, number one, is ugly.
Right.
Imagine how bad she smells. Man, I'm told her and Obama just stink. So these are things he's saying, but they put it over those.
Right.
That folk. Smells like sulfur. Like these are just shit that this guy's saying all the time.
Right.
And so that just led into what I said happened today.
Oh.
And that was is that he's like, so he's still got a show. He's off YouTube because he just got so out of control. But they showed a clip of what he's saying right now. And today, or just yesterday, he got himself back in the news by freaking, I'm going to give you that one again because it's awesome.
Oh, it's blasted. All right, here. Yeah, no, I like it's not blasting like it was.
Yeah, just tiny. That's Alex Jones, man. Super conspiracy guy. And he loves Trump. He said he that Trump calls him. He's like although he really calls Hannity at night, for the pillow talk, he acts like, he's waiting on the call from Trump. I don't know what happened to him though in recent times. Other than that latest thing I just heard. So it's like he's inciting that next phase, which is where people are starting to look at each other going, fuck them. Like on both sides. That's, people are saying, let them go out there and die.
Right.
The people that are too stupid to do anything, And
what the fuck was that?
This is another one.
Ladies.
It looks like this is them doing it to Tommy Lauren, that girl we were talking about yesterday.
Well, they had her saying something quick and stupid on the fucking...
Let me see what this one sounds like. This is her doing same thing. Jesus. That's funny though.
She's an idiot.
Yeah. And it's funny when they put their lyrics to work to me, again.
Right.
That's why the majority of those entertainers and comedians aren't and actors, it just is in a way that type of life,
Right. Where's what did Warner have to say? He had to feed the guy he's got tied up?
He just said he was just getting home, so I guess
Oh. He just made it home, man.
Yeah, I can give him a call.
Yeah.
Check it out.
You better play Zach
Yeah,
first.
that's right. We got to
Forgot
go back to
about
our.
him, man.
We got to go back to our.
Well, you were playing other music videos and shit
Yeah, we're gonna go back to our in-house guest. We forgot he was sitting over there,
with his.
but that's not really true. This is recorded from.
Was that a white lie?
That was just a white lie.
Is that what they call it?
White lie.
That motherfucker had a white lie.
Yeah. Oh shit. All right,
Oh boy.
let me try this again. Well, I thought I had it up. Oh, I do. Over there. Okay, cool. Cool beans. All right, guys. We're going to go
What?
with track 2, Zach Rowland. I can't remember what the name necessarily of this one is, but when we get back from this, maybe we'll take a call from listener 607-373-HEAT. And also, we're going to be giving our friend Ryan Warner a call, see what he's up to if we don't hear from anybody else.
See if you still got that dude tied up.
So,
What song is the name of this one?
again, I'm not sure because I didn't have anything queued. It's just next song in the rotation. So, ladies and gentlemen, listen to the mAng and Neads Show live. Sonic Gardens Radio.
That was called Going to Virginia.
Ooh.
I lied. That's called Silicone Red. And this next one is called Whiskey Amaretto.
All right.
I forgot to cue this one up, but hey, he'll
fuck
get
it.
there
This might be his hit.
for sure.
I think this is his hit.
This one's here we go.
I know you're shy, but so am I. Just take that two-tone soul, yeah, baby, come and measure with mine. I wanna dance, so what's your plans? Another whiskey amaretto, yeah, together we'll forget about him. I'll take a gin with a splash of sin. Another cup of Georgia peaches, yeah, baby, we'll forget about him. Let's take our time. Let's take our time. I try my cigarette. Can I call you mine? So far away, so much at stake. And still I tread the mighty ocean if it meant one last minute to wait. And if you dance or find romance, just show them European boys all the moves of an American man. need a soul cold to soothe my soul. And please tell me, bartender, who she's loving. Should I stay or should I bolt? Just take your time, and I'll waste my time. I burn my cigarette. Are you still mine? I see your face, last one I'll chase. 'Cause she smells like home, wanna hold her till she's old and gray. And now she's mine, yeah, now she's mine. I broke my cigarettes just in time, yeah.
All right, we're back.
Oh, yeah.
That was Zach Rowland right
Rolling.
there.
Rolling. Yeah, man.
Whiskey Amaretto. Yeah, I have that in our catalog, our Sonic Gardens catalog, as well as on the live show here. Yeah, that reminds me, I got another in-house guest that I could pull up in that same fashion.
Oh. You can pull it up, folks. We'll have a peek.
Well, for next round.
Oh.
But yeah. So
Bottom. Yeah.
Yeah, there it is.
There it is.
Wonder if it's in the. Yeah.
What do you think?
What do I think about what? What's next? Well, Chris did some recording of the first layer of sleep music.
Oh, yeah.
So that's kind of cool. I was
He
just
sure did.
listening to that, so we came in a little bit early and got started on that next videos we're going to start releasing. Be nice. Anybody wants to give us any input on that if they're interested.
Somebody wants?
Definitely. Anybody out there looking for subscribers and just trying to release content that keeps our channel running, relevant. We got music, we got live guests, we got Sonic Gardens recordings. We got Yanni Yawn desk.
Look at A.
And, and we got Ryan Warner.
Oh, where we got him?
Man, we got Ryan Warner.
Oh,
We're going to have to give him
man.
I'm going to give him a call. See if I can, get the breakthrough here.
He's probably hanging out with a bunch of dudes with his shirt off, standing on a pickup truck.
You think?
Well, I mean, it's cold out. Yesterday probably was the day for that, so.
Yeah.
So probably not.
Well, I'm going to pull this one cable out.
Oh.
I'm going to plug in another cable. And I'm going to see if I can get a connection to him.
Call him right up. See what the fuck he's got going on up there in Oxford. In the big house. See what he's up to. Maybe he can fill us in on something. Oh. I hear a phone ring.
Do you?
I do.
Is it working?
Ain't working?
It's working. All right. It's no feedback either. Perfect.
Perfect.
You can hear me?
I can hear you.
All right. Hold on a second.
Cocksucker.
Let's see if you can hear ooh-ah now. Josh?
Danny, you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, damn.
Oh, but as soon as I do that, that's when that feedback comes in. Hold on a second. Let me try one more thing. You can hear me.
I see Ryan, dude.
Yeah, you see him.
I see him. He's got beautiful.
I can hear you, yep.
Got a little bookshelf. Oh.
Let me. I was thinking that maybe it was something with it was feeding back from before, but now it's funny because only when his gets, it's when I turn that up. There's a feedback.
Motherfucker.
Wait, hold on a second. Try it again. What do you got now? You got anything better?
What?
You, Josh.
Hey.
Talk.
Warner. Can't hear me. Peckerhead.
What about now? Can you hear us now?
Hey.
Shit. All right.
What have you done?
I don't know. I just it's always that same thing.
Let's go to the echo. We like
that
the
track
echo.
16 should be coming in on an external mic, but for some reason
there he is. There he is. I hear that. Oh, he can't hear us. We hear him.
Yeah, I can hear. He can hear me because I think it must be picking it up right on the mic that's right there.
Oh.
All right. Well, let's
crank the speakers in there and see.
We're just gonna go back to audio.
See if we have. Oh, we are.
We're gonna have to go back to audio call.
Oh, why you can't turn the monitors on in there?
Cool, man. We'll get it worked out one of these days.
Oh yeah, Warner. One of these days we'll have it all fixed.
I think the MacBook picks up my mic directly from. I mean, I don't think right there I went mute. I'm sure. Muted right there where you couldn't hear me at all. So yeah.
Am I muted? No.
See that's where the feedback starts, Josh. If I turn you up so that he can hear you,
yeah,
then it'll feed back.
Let's try it again.
All right, one more.
Yeah, I heard him just now.
Oh, want me to whisper, Warner?
Don't whisper. Speak up again.
Yes. Hello. What's he shaking his head for?
You got to keep talking.
I'm sorry. I see him.
And then as soon as I do that,
he cuts out.
Yeah, it makes his side all wacky.
Unbelievable. Huh. See you though, Warner. Waving to you right now.
All right, I'm gonna call you back.
We put a monitor in. Oh. You cut him off?
I had to.
He wanted to show you something.
I could have let. Oh shit.
He was trying to show you something.
I know. Well, then I couldn't hear him. We did that the other time where I spent 20 minutes trying to figure it out. I was trying to do it earlier, so that we could hit it better.
Oh.
This way, I'll be able to see him. I think still. Shit.
Unbelievable. Mother. Oh, mother. mAng and Neads Show. Sonic Garden Radio. We're calling somebody up to see what they're doing. See how they're doing.
Dude, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you out there.
He did.
Oh, that's all right. I should have said something sooner.
Oh, he meant it. I heard you. I heard you. I was waiting for the picture. All of a sudden, I got a black screen.
And I got that thing to pull the files off. So I was going to show Josh our California trip is all on this camera.
Oh, man.
So when you hold it down, because in the time lapse for the lion and everything like that, a bunch of shit's on this camera.
Right.
So with the time lapse, you got to hold down to scroll through it all. You can't skip it. You can't skip like all 400 photos. But when you do that, it basically plays the video.
Yeah.
Wait, if you record the scroll through.
Yeah, see, that's where right. So I could.
That's what I did with the with that Sonic Gardens image at the beginning.
Right, that's what you're saying.
Oh.
But while I was doing that, so I started watching it, and it was that song was playing that you just played.
Oh, cool.
And I'm watching all these things go in rapid succession, and in between the time lapse that I shot, or just a bunch of still frames or whatever you call them. But
now he's a photographer.
With a digital camera, you can look, and you're like, oh well, I got to take a better one or take a different one. So you're always taking like 10 photos. So when you're flying through them, you can actually see, like I took like 5 photos of my kid eating a watermelon, and it flashes through, and all this different thing, like my whole trip to Florida, and then a bunch of pictures I took from but it's basically turned into a music video.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
And it was backwards. Everything was backwards. So all the
What
time
the-
lapses looked like I was erasing my paintings. But it worked, man, because that song, the beat of that song was perfect. And I was like, holy shit, this is wild.
Yeah.
It makes me want to make a music video of it.
You should.
I should. But yeah, man. So Josh rolls through all the California, everything like that, and all the pictures I took out the window of like, oh, that's a cool mountain or something.
Right.
I took so many of those that it's like those are thrown in too. So it's like, oh, we drove a bunch and then ended up at a place and drove a bunch and whatever. It's it's neat, man. I'm sure that shit's like day one for photographers, but
Did you get any pictures of the prairie dogs?
no. Oh yeah. Right. That was like our first. Yeah, I did. All by the dumpster.
Dude, they were
Until
everywhere.
that dog came along. Yeah, it was like
They
4,000 prairie
were
dogs.
fucking everywhere. Prairie dogging out there.
That's why when we had the Black Plague, Ebola was in Denver or Boulder last summer.
Oh, yeah.
Am I? Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
You
where
are.
it turned up or something?
It was spread through the groundhogs, or not groundhogs. What are those fucking things?
Oh, the
Prairie
dogs.
dog.
Okay,
Prairie
prairies,
dogs.
Yeah.
You been prairie dogging?
Wish pigs. But so we had already been to wherever the fuck we were when we saw all those prairie dogs. I mean, everywhere at this little rest stop.
Right.
And then they're like, oh yeah, whatever, the plague, there's the Ebola breakout in Denver, but it's okay. It's only with the prairie dogs. And I was like, fuck that, man. I'm not going near them.
Not
Like they,
gonna
talk about
do
rat
it.
wars, man. Those things,
Yeah.
they live in colonies, man.
Yeah, they do. A bunch of them.
Oh God.
And they have a leader.
Yeah, no shit.
They have a king or a queen.
Yeah, but I can get those photos off my camera now, Josh.
Why don't you? What are you waiting for? You got all the
You
time
know
in the
me.
world over there.
You know me.
Yeah. Busy guy. I know you're busy too, though. I know you're busy. What your busy means.
You know it.
Yeah. That means the project is done in 10 days, or due in 10 days, and he'll work on it that day. Fucking
Yep.
The 10th day.
And then I'll push it. I'm like, man, I can't make it tonight.
Can't make it tonight,
Tomorrow.
but I'll be there Thursday.
Yeah, tomorrow afternoon.
Next week. Tomorrow afternoon.
So if you guys,
What?
the music you're playing, that was from the old studio?
Oh, yes. Yes, 2018, I believe.
Yeah, 2 years ago, that guy, Zach Rowland, came and did his set there.
Cool.
Pretty cool. Yeah, it was because we didn't have a guest today, so we figured
The last song
I
sounded
thought
like
that I could pull up some old...
Ugly Kid Joe song. I hate everything about you. Yeah.
yeah.
Wait, he plays Ugly Kid Joe?
No, he was saying
no.
the
That
song.
last song sounded like I mean,
I forgot he sang that song.
Ugly Kid Joe?
Everything
About you.
Yeah, I always think the Three Little Pigs, man.
Oh, Green Jelly.
Oh, is that the wrong? It's not the same guy?
Green Jelly sang the Three Little Pigs.
Oh.
Remember
so
that?
Wait, what else did Ugly Kid Joe sing?
Not real. I mean, that's more up your alley than it is mine. Like Ugly
Wait, but
Kid
don't
Joe.
didn't you almost get an Ugly Kid Joe tattoo?
Me? I have no tattoos.
Didn't you? Wait, I thought you had.
You got a tattoo, right? Or is that-
Will you design my Ugly Kid Joe tattoo? I swear that was you.
You got a tattoo, right? Or is that a stamp you got, or a brand? You got you got some dude's name branded on you. Carl.
Carl.
It's right there under my armpit.
So what's new? What's new in the world, man? You guys do your update?
We don't do much here.
Oh, just the latest numbers?
Bounce it
Yeah.
back and through.
They're not slowing down, man.
They're not.
And
They're
then,
going to go up.
I saw Fauci come out and say it definitely happened.
We're dead.
Yeah.
What's
We're-
happening?
We're fucked.
Yeah, we're fucked.
I just saw a report. Pull up the New York Times report, Ange. There's a report on there about them saying that numbers are going to go up or they're just going to bounce up here. We're in for a bunch of we're going to hit over 200,000 deaths, I think, or yeah, the numbers are just going to fucking start soaring here. Our daily cases are going to go up within the next 2 weeks. I'll try to find it real quick. It's a New York
Which one
Times.
it is?
What?
I just don't know which what we're looking for here. New York Times, May 1st.
NYT, right? Is that New York? That's New York Times,
yeah.
right?
I don't know, man. I couldn't find it. I didn't narrow it down.
See,
What
there's
was
a
it?
document obtained by the New York Times. It came from the White House, but it said much higher corona virus death tolls coming. The White House says the document cited is not legit. But of course they do.
Yeah.
So they projected to get it back up to 3,000 a day. And deaths by June 1st up to like 200,000, I think.
By June 1st. Yeah, remember they came out and said 60,000 and then everybody blew up. Oh man, now the numbers went from, a million to 500,000 to 250, now 60, but now it's going back up.
Right.
Because
of course it is.
For like the obvious reasons.
And then the White House is saying that it's not a document, nor has the task force gone through that. Yeah, they're backpedaling again.
Yeah, that was another one that I found where the guy, Trump literally said to the guy, tell him it's not, and it's just so funny where they have to go against what they actually said.
Did you say you found that clip?
Yeah, I had a clip where they they showed, oh man, I don't
That's
remember.
the same day. That's the same day he did the whole sunshine in
your butthole.
Like right before that, he's like, tell him, go back and tell him it's going to be gone. Tell him it's not coming back in the fall. You tell him.
Yeah.
You go ahead and tell him.
You know what the thing is that I can't see my watched videos.
Why not, Angelo?
How do you get to that? Like you can do that on YouTube, but you can't do it on Facebook.
Oh, I don't know anything about that. I don't watch no videos on Facebook.
Like, so you can go back to like what you're
kidding me?
You don't watch videos on Facebook?
No, I mean, no. And if they're on YouTube, I do.
Oh, it links over to YouTube.
Yeah,
yeah, I spend more time on YouTube, but sometimes
I don't spend a lot of time.
I watch
there
a video
either.
and then it just instantly like rolls to the next video, one of those deals.
Yeah.
That's how they get you.
That's how they get you. Unless you got a playlist.
Yeah.
So that's how you watch all that bullshit. Because if you look for one thing and then it just reflects you. I'm not saying like the stuff I'm saying the stuff like when they send you to Fox News shit and stuff like that.
Right.
That's how you get all that stuff, all those gems.
I guess. No.
Did you see
Tell me
about the roll along thing where George Bush Jr. made a statement about, everyone coming together and realizing we don't have as much there's not much that separates us as it seems. And then Trump tweeted out and blasted him.
What did he have to say?
Did you see that?
No, we did not. Didn't see that.
Yeah, man. Junior came out with a video and was like, take it easy, love everybody. That whole thing, like
George W.
Yeah, we got to get through this together, and he was always about that. You know what I mean? Like his message, anyway. Unity and shit.
He's a
whatever.
liar. He's full of shit.
Yeah, and then Trump's like, "Where was that? Where was all that when I was being impeached? I didn't hear you coming out preaching, that when I was being impeached."
Ooh.
So it's almost like, dude, I don't know, man. It's just so much, man. He's like, "Where was this non-bipartisan stuff when I was being impeached?" It's like, dude, he didn't speak up when you were being impeached. Like, that's a bad thing. Like, that's not something you want to remind everybody. And he did it like a diss. You know what I mean? And the message wasn't maybe it was to Donald Trump, but it was like for everyone.
Think about it. That was like the worst thing that could happen to a president, and then it's been minimized so much that it's like not even a deal sealer. Like he can still get reelected. It's just, yeah.
Good.
It's wild, man.
Yeah. That's what happens when you fart into the wind. Fucking
America.
America. Got the DT tremors.
Yeah. So that Benny video is doing pretty well, man, as far as views. We've got a lot of people starting to tune in with more and more. So anybody new to this channel, man, hit a like, give us a subscribe, leave a comment, and help us grow the channel, man. Be nice.
We would like to be nice.
You guys ready for that one I had? I'm gonna play here.
We don't know what one that is, Angelo.
It's
I'm ready.
I'm gonna kick to another old recording. This one is from June 15th of 2018.
All right.
And this one is Cosmic Theo doing that Aloha song, but this time
really?
We played it multiple times. This one's gonna be like the live, so you can see him do it and everything. Just give me 1 second to cue, Josh, if you wanna. Tell everybody
That's in my ears. Oh, it's blasting on me.
Nah.
Weather or some shit.
It ain't on yet. I don't hear it yet.
I like it, but it's blasting.
Fuck, you should have heard. Yeah, earlier. Holy shit. He had Alex Jones fucking crank, and it was good, though. They were fucking with that guy. They're saying some fucked up shit. Hopefully we don't get pulled for that one. Oh, you turned
something, man.
You turned it off out there, but it was playing to me just. It was a good song, man. That guy did a good job. What was he? That was old Nick. Nick did a good job on that video of Alex.
Yeah, that stuff's cool, man.
Did you hear that one? The Alex Jones rundown?
Did you hear that? He did. You heard it. Oh. I hear it. Here comes the boom. mAng and Neads Show. You got that going yet, or? I can't tell.
The heat line is open.
Here we go, guys. I'm ready.
mAng and Neads Show. Sonic Garden Radio Live. Who's this guy?
All right, once again, this is Cosmic Theo.
Bro.
I've played this a few times, but you get to see this actual, the old studio version. Oh, man, even Theo, when you see some of his videos today, he looks a lot younger here, 2 years ago.
Oh,
but,
what are you saying? He ages
But
quick?
no, I'm just saying, like, like all of us, we kind of grew some facial hair. And,
Fuck, I can't
you too,
grow
man.
facial hair.
You grew some facial hair.
Yeah, fucking little patch on my chin, half an inch on my chin.
Wouldn't look so young.
Yeah.
All right, so hope you guys
though.
enjoy. Like I said, Cosmic Theo. This is his version of Aloha performed live, Sonic Garden Studios.
Aloha.
This guitar still cool? Is it still cool to like shred? Fuck yeah, it's cool. And you don't have to be at a fish show for someone to do it. But they do that.
Who is it? Fucker shut me up. Cox.
Want to come back to the matter, the fact that we are at Sound. We are at Sonic Gardens here with Angelo in Norwich. We got a couple other friends behind the curtain, but so grateful to Angelo for having me here and to share his wealth of equipment and know-how and kindness and rum and cokes from his heart. My name's Cosmic Theo.
You're welcome, Theo.
You can find me Instagram with Cosmic with a Z. On Facebook, I'm Cosmic Man. I got the YouTubes. I got the whole website, cosmictheo.com with a Z. Check it out. Say what's up. I also want to take a second to promote shamelessly and fearlessly this festival that I'm working with for performing at next weekend in Western Mass is Unifier Festival. Got a lot of amazing bands. My headliner homies are Illgates, Michael Love, and Rubble Bucket. It's a real high vibe spot. The land's beautiful. We got the lake. We got the yum yum food. Safe place for kids. Come on down if you're feeling it. You can find links by clicking on my page. All right, much love, everybody. I'm gonna do one more for you. My name's Cosmic Theo. There we go. There we go. Thanks, Angelo. They're so patient. That really turns me on. My thoughts is, well, first of all, I'll just tell you a little thing about my process here is I'm not bringing anything preloaded. I got tones in this thing. Everything else is live. So I'm kind of doing a DJ's job and making it up on the spot. So that's why it's got to be perfect.
Aloha. Aloha, aloha, kuleana, kuleana, yeah.
Go back and forth every single day. The clarity comes to me in the choppy ways. The seasons and places and the people change, but the galaxies remain. Energy fields come a body to space. The angels out of cover to the spiritual age. The hatred it takes of my spiritual pace. Tenfold the mind of when the planets are in place in polar alignment. We're on assignment. The body's on consignment. Return them to the circuit. Oh, and what is the purpose? What is the purpose? Would you believe it? Would you believe it? If you knew what you were for and how you became so informed. Bodies of info, performing such miracles. I am a miracle, made up of particles. In this existence, I stay persistent. I'll make a difference, 'cause I will have lived it. Aloha, aloha, ke akua, ke akua. Aloha, aloha, kuleana, kuleana, yeah. I'm not a leader, just a creature, seeking the features of a teacher. With a follow as you lead, the mysterious ways to nature, that I've been to it. Changing managed mind. There are various ways, top of this, monotonous metropolis. Stubbornness is bottomless. The feelings got me talking and I'm wide awake. And I'm taking names. You speak to me like you speak to God. All the love and understanding between the Father and the Son. You believe in the perfectness of where you are. These are my people, this is my babies. This is the land that I would fight for. My solidarity is telling me to patiently move the musical medicine around the planet in a hurry. Because there's no time to wait. We gotta wake up the babies. We gotta stand up and say that we know what we are for and how we became so informed. Bodies of info, performing such miracles. I am a miracle, made up of particles. In this existence, I stay persistent. Well, I'll make a difference, 'cause I will have lived it. Aloha, aloha, ke akua, ke akua. Aloha, aloha, kuleana, kuleana, yeah. The day that I don't wake up, transcend the holy makeup. I am capable, I am powerful. The day that I don't wake up, transcend the holy makeup. I am on my way to a different place.
Yeah, Cosmic Theo. Everybody out there,
Everybody.
thanks for tuning in, listening to that. And that was I really enjoyed that whole performance, man. Yeah. Well, he's got to build them up with them loops for sure, but there was a lot of lyrics in that one too. Oh, we need to cut this over. There we go. Hey, Ryan, you still with us, bud?
Old Dick.
Yeah, man, music's in my ears.
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, that was awesome, man. That's my jam.
You gotta turn
I
them
know.
up.
That you had that playing. Actually,
I'm dicking again.
it was at the same time when I was painting the lion. What's the song?
There he is. Old
Sorry.
Dick Trickle.
God, I thought about it and it left me. But it's the one that says "Punch Your Mama."
Oh yeah, that's another good one. Yep. Punch your mama.
Poetry
in
motion.
motion. Yeah, I played that one too.
Poetry in motion.
That one's got that
in
cool line. He
the
says,
ocean.
I make a difference because I will have lived it. That's a good line.
Aloha.
A punch your mama.
Yeah, man, you should just to check that out, you should look up that song, Aloha. It's like it's like a famous song, turns out.
It is
But
famous.
if you listen to the original
But he just
version-
took the chorus from it, right? Or not the chorus, but just the lyrics,
the
right?
whole
yeah, it doesn't sound like it, but it's probably the same progression.
Supreme,
it's just
yeah.
done. It's done with a beat and
a
like
little different. He
it's
does
almost
it different, Warner.
a little bit different. Yeah, it's
Warner.
awesome though. I enjoyed that him coming. And the whole experience of me, I
bet
went
you
to
did.
the Ithaca Fest, met him on the street, and just said, "Hey, I got this studio. You want to check it out? It's
That's
about
how it all
I
begins.
go, it's about an hour away." And he's like, "Yeah, sure."
Meeting him
and
on the street
he just showed up and did his thing.
and peeled up.
Yeah, it was easy to record. He just gave me his, left-right channels out of his mix.
Easiest guy it's been here to record, huh?
Well, as far as
Plugging them in.
plugging it in and not having to set a bunch of stuff up.
Right.
Yeah, that's smart, man. He can go
range.
anywhere and do that.
Yeah.
He can busk on the
Yeah,
corner.
his that's what it was. He was in the center of
Buskin'?
four corners at the Ithaca Fest, and he had like a stage, because all the roads were closed off, like the whole city, and so he basically had a stage that was the center of the four corners of a street.
Wait, he didn't have a stage though, right? He
It wasn't a
part of
stage.
that.
No. He was like
He was busking.
It was like a side.
Better than a stage.
Yeah, side street. And but yeah, he set up right in the middle, and he had his whole
Did you tip
his whole Jesus. I don't remember.
Oh.
I think I may have, but I
what a
know
good
I
guy.
gave him my card and talked to him, and he ended up coming
yeah, I
to
forgot
Sonic
you
Garden.
had your
So
card.
we actually met and became friends.
Right.
Yeah, so I
He
keep
sounded
track.
good, obviously, when you heard him, right? Obviously.
Oh
Or
yeah.
you wouldn't have asked him.
Oh yeah. When I saw him play on the street, it was awesome. He was doing just what he was doing there.
Looping.
Yeah.
Cool.
With a cranking system, and
Oh, yeah.
yeah, he was tearing it up.
Huh. And they let you do that.
Josh has got a cranking system. He's got a.
Yeah, he
Is
does.
that a white Trans Am, Josh?
No, I don't have a white Trans Am.
It was a white
Sorry.
Firebird.
Sorry, I didn't hear a Dr. Dre song. Go out and buy a fucking Impala. I got it's a Camaro. Joe Dirt goes in my hair.
Bitchin'
Yeah,
Camaro.
Josh. What year is it? What year is your Camaro?
No, it's an 89, man.
An 89 T-top.
Hey, T-top.
You should see Josh in this thing, man. Like, never has there been a
Yeah.
more appropriate car for Josh.
What year is that one that Gabe just Frankie?
86.
86
Gabe's is.
Firebird.
Yeah.
That's a Firebird.
No. His is a Camaro, too.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah, copper color, like rust, copper tone.
Oh, okay.
Frankie did him good. They got,
Yeah.
It's got a 6-banger in there though.
It ain't rusted. It's copper tone.
It's copper tone, not the sunblock. The fucking
Patina.
color.
the color.
The color.
Nice.
It's a runner, man. They had it stored, dude, inside. That's how much they love that car. Frankie had
What
that.
do you mean inside? That's a
I'm saying-
strange way to say it.
I'm saying the fucking car
inside?
was inside, like in a garaged building. It was inside. It was right.
That's not inside. Your garage isn't inside.
Motherfucker, my shop is inside, and that thing was right in the same building as my shop, so it would be inside.
inside makes me think like people that bring their motors. You ever hear when people bring their motorcycle inside?
Oh, I've heard, Warner. I've heard.
And they say that like, yeah, brought the bike
Bro-
inside.
No,
and they bring it in their fucking living room.
They say in their house or something like. Yeah.
They bring it like in their kitchen.
Yeah, that's how what's his name used to do it on that TV show you used to watch. What was it? Charles in Charge or something?
Charles in Charge.
We know you watched it. I didn't get that particular.
It sounds familiar.
Yeah. Yep.
Definitely does.
Yeah. Your boy was.
But yeah, man, that's another. We gotta highlight these things so when we talk to our animator, we can make sure they know, all the aspects of Josh's eccentricities.
Fucking Camaro. And yeah, give me the fucking. It's a gunmetal too, Warner. With 410s in the back. What's it got in it? It's got a
410s.
410s in the back.
Oh shit!
You got any more videos for us, Ange?
I do. I actually have I have one that I want to pull up. This is the.
Everything's good. You tell me usually though. So
I know. I do say that, don't I?
Yeah. It's
What?
I go. Yeah, I got a good one.
Got a
every
good
time.
video. He said.
Well, anything that I think is cool, it must be a
Right.
good one.
It
I
is.
guess.
Oh, it is.
I mean
Your last
that I
good
think
video
is,
got us
yeah.
fucking show cut.
That's right. It was so good. I got.
It
the
was
show
so
cut.
good. We took it from Netflix.
Show cut.
Oh fuck.
How about the weather, man?
What do you mean? You don't like it?
73 yesterday and
Oh.
it's like 38 right now.
It's cold
Yeah,
today.
it's
I know.
not.
With
Mike,
those weird, like when
it's gonna
the
snow
temperature
Saturday,
when the temperature
boys.
shifts 40 degrees, it's just a weird thing. It always is.
Well,
Yeah.
felt like being out in the wind in San Fran when I came out.
You know when
on the porch.
when the Earth, what month it is when the Earth is closest to the sun?
I don't, because
What
I
would
don't.
you guess?
I don't pay attention to that shit. June.
Yes, Josh. You
It's
know all
June.
the months,
It's
right?
June. It's June.
And the sun is closest to the Earth in what one of those months?
June, right?
August.
No.
Wait, which one? The sun is closest to the
Yep,
moon.
sun-
Wait.
to the
What'd you
Earth.
say? You
Oh.
said. Oh.
I don't know.
Wait. Sun is closest to the moon in June, right?
So the
No, you
Earth
said
revolves
Earth.
around the sun, but it revolves in an oval.
Yeah.
And so it travels far away and comes back around and far away. We're at one end of the oval. It doesn't travel around it like and put the sun in the middle of the oval. It's at one side, so it's like a.
So what is it? January then? What is it? We already
No,
passed
it's
it.
got to be a warm one, I would assume.
It's got to be January then.
So
We've already passed it.
it's January, or
Oh,
something
wow.
like that. February, January.
Yeah, we
It's
already
when you
went
least
by
expect
it.
Because here's the deal: when the Earth is the furthest from the sun, it's at its coldest,
Right.
and it gets so fucking cold that when it turns and heads back towards the sun starts to thaw it out, but it still remains frozen when it's like the closest to the sun. It's almost its coldest,
Right.
and then as the sun penetrates the cold, it makes its turn and starts heading away from Earth, and then we have our summer months.
Is this
It's like on its way out.
Is this a true story or is this?
I don't have anything to back this up,
Oh.
but that's how it happens. So it's like, so right now
I love it.
we're actually closer to the sun than we will be during the summer.
Right. But it'll
Right
be,
now we're getting further away from the sun every day.
but but like you said, so it's been heating up though.
Right, because we've gone through the thaw already. I think I just learned
What is
this
that,
shit, man.
Trump
I'm
in my
40.
ear?
What?
Trump. Just heard Trump out of nowhere. Fucking.
I was queuing something up, and it
Oh.
went to your thing, not to mine.
I
I,
love-
didn't
I
wanna-
got Trump in
God
my ears
damn
now.
it.
God,
Just ignore him sometimes, because if you see it go, then I made an error. you
Oh,
know?
I don't know. I just hear
yeah,
that.
one minute I'm talking about my Trans Am, the next minute I got Trump in my ear.
You're doing that goddamn Nixon voice again.
That is so true, man. I can't do
That's
it.
the
I
only
can't do it.
voice
I
you
only
got
have
is that Nixon voice. Fucking.
I don't have a very deep bag voices.
Fuck. That fucking Nixon voice is fucking wild. It's spot on though.
Well, he does. That's the voice that he does anyway. It's
Right.
not his real voice. It kind of is.
It is.
This is no, I won't even bring it up. It's too insensitive.
Oh.
That way I can still laugh at it, and people won't know what I'm laughing at. They won't think I'm a degenerate. Yeah, but I can't believe it, man. I'm building the waterfall, little pond, waterfall, whatever. Loving it. Looking forward to today. I think I'm going back out there and playing in the water again
for
and
a couple months. It's cold
freezing.
out, dumbass. What are you gonna be doing playing in the water today for?
It's fun, man. I don't know if you guys have ever done it, but it's fun.
I've played in the water, but it's warm out.
Like, no, build a waterfall or whatever, direct flow water from one thing and make like different tiers, make different little ponds or pools.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man. But it's really fun. It's the only hydroponics I get into.
Right. Waterfalls.
So this was the one, man, I wish I had the video.
Angelo.
Well, I thought I just sent myself the video.
Sounded
but for
like
some
video.
reason, it was just the audio.
Oh.
But either way.
Donald Trump.
Whoa.
Just unbelievable. Dr. Robert Redfield was totally misquoted in the media on a statement about the fall season and the virus. Totally misquoted.
You were accurately quoted, correct? I'm accurately quoted in the Washington Post.
What Dr. Redfield clearly was asking for, just like we ask for every American to follow the guidelines, he's saying, please add to that guidelines getting your flu shot.
Get it together.
There's a good chance that COVID will not come back.
We don't know.
Because it comes back, it's in a very small confined area that we put out.
Well, the great thing is we'll be able to find it earlier this time.
That might not come back at all, Jeff. It may not come back at all.
Motherfucker.
He's talking about a worst case scenario where you have a big flu and you have some corona. But it's all possible. It's also possible
Some corona.
it doesn't come back at all.
We will have coronavirus in the fall. I am convinced of that. There will be coronavirus in the fall.
Motherfucker, we got it now.
Whoa. Just unbelievable. I can't.
We got it now.
Yeah.
Corona.
That was a little spin together of different clips coming together.
Corona.
So, as you can see,
Can't see shit.
They ain't telling us nothing.
They ain't telling us nothing we don't already know here at the mAng and Neads Show.
I don't know, man. I'm convinced that I really am. It sounds like a joke, but I think I believe it now, that I think Trump is a lot smarter than we think, in that he is keeping riots under control or whatever would happen with these crazy people. Like, he knows how they will react if you're like, no, it's not. Like, there's a reason he's doing it, man. Like,
he's
just like, you can't tell him. He's like, oh, it's fine. He's like, oh, we'll just fight. He's like, I'll say you can open it up. You tell me I can't. We'll just play it out like that.
But
they're slow playing us.
But honestly,
I'm telling you, they would revolt, man. They would revolt if they knew that we're like mandatory 6-month lockdown.
And his people would be the ones that revolt.
His people, for sure.
Yeah, they're slow playing.
I think, honestly, I'm not shitting you, man.
15 days at a time, man.
Donald Trump, thank you for realizing that stupid people have to be talked to in a certain way.
Well,
and we don't get that.
Do you not
Some
feel
stupid people?
Do you not feel like this has been the way he's done every single topic from the moment he entered politics, from birther to saying that he was going to put up the wall? That's what got him into the launch for the presidency.
Cocksucker.
To talking about, when Jeff Sessions put marijuana as a Schedule I drug.
Holy shit.
The border wall, trade, war, North Korea, Russia, no matter what it is, he's like the troll that throws it out there, gives his little slanted view, gets everybody to, turn that into the daily topic of the next freaking week. And then it turned into daily, and then it turned into you can't even keep up with that.
He takes one for the team.
You're like, what's the stupidest thing he's done today? Out of the 10 things per day, and you can't keep up with it. There's a million.
And that's where he's Howard Sterning everybody. because you got to keep track. People watch hundreds of hours of it, and they hate him. It's wild.
Well,
it really is.
It looks like I have.
What do you got?
Well,
a caller on the heat line?
No, it looks like I officially got the.
I thought we had a call on the heat line.
I was going to tell you that I got the, that one with our.
Spit it out.
Kaylee.
Kaylee. We got Kaylee McBain on the hotline. Kaylee.
Oh my God! If she called up, that would be great.
Oh, it would be fucking refreshing, is what it would be.
You got
Warner.
3 minutes. You got 3 minutes left.
You got 3. Refreshing.
Can you hear me drinking my coffee?
I heard you set it down. Do you got the video?
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping I can get pulled. That it's gonna work.
Well, that's refreshing.
It will be refreshing. If
wow.
It works.
Wow. It's a different video. She said something.
No,
else?
it's that same one. It's just the actual video.
I didn't know she said something else stupid.
But man,
she's full of shit.
Yes, she is.
Josh, you saw Fish Tour was canceled?
No, I mean, I didn't see it officially, but I don't know what I saw, but I figured it was going to be.
Well,
so
actually, it's postponed.
Yeah, postponed?
Yeah, so they don't have to refund any of the tickets.
Yeah. Huh.
But it's
until 2021 though?
Yep, same dates and everything.
Oh.
It's just a clear, so the tickets you have are still good, I guess.
Oh.
I don't know.
Yeah, they don't waste trees that way. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Sucks, man.
Nothing.
I wonder what people are gonna do, man. Like if people already made summer tour posters, if it's gonna be like a thing.
Oh yeah, if they did, but would you already have? You knew this.
You can get your hands on a poster of the tour that never was.
Yeah, but you knew this was gonna happen 2 months ago. Like if you made posters and did all that print, like you're kind of.
Do you think it's too early?
I think it was. This has been going on since March, right? End of February, March. We got locked down, and we knew it wasn't going to be good in March unless
people got to start. People got to start thinking before then.
You start thinking, but you don't want to. I mean, I wouldn't start printing anything until late April or anything like that, especially when it doesn't start until July. I mean,
sucks, man. I wanted to go back out to the gorge.
Yeah. I bet you did. Rattlesnakes.
That's got to be my favorite place like as far as everywhere that we've gone, man.
You like going out there?
That lonely ass trip up to one. Was it the one?
Yeah.
The coast.
Route 1.
Route 1. We went.
Oh my
we were
God.
out.
It was great. Don't get me wrong, but
we were in Mendocino the same time. Fucking Angelo was out there.
Yeah, he went to the Glass Beach, right? That's like
yeah.
But we didn't have time
Fort
to
Bragg.
do shit, man.
Fort Bragg, California.
We pulled off this thing. We pulled off the road one night.
I tried to fucking Warner is
I
like
pulled off the road. All right.
Warner's the biggest Go ahead.
It's after driving all day, whatever. We like 4 a.m. whatever. We pull off on this thing. It's like no overnight parking, whatever. I was like, yeah, I don't give a fuck. So, and we're right on the cliffs of the ocean. We're driving along, but you can't see anything, and all there is fog. Tremendous amount of fog.
I don't remember you being like, I don't give a fuck. It was.
Well, you were sleeping.
No, I was up. Yeah,
No, you were in the back when we parked.
No, I was up.
Oh, you were? Okay, so either way, we couldn't see.
We parked, and there was another vehicle there.
Yeah, so we drove past the vehicle enough, and then I turned and pointed the nose at the sound of the ocean. And it's like, you can hear it and shit. It's like, oh, cool. And I went out and took a piss right out in front of the van, 4 feet in front of the van. And just you could hear the ocean loud as shit.
Yeah, it was great.
And then we wake up the next morning and we're parked fucking, without exaggeration, we're maybe, 15 feet from the edge. No guardrail.
And they were 40-foot cliffs.
Yeah. Easy 40 feet, man. It was, we were so high up. And, oh my God. Like I woke up and looked out the windshield, and all you saw was ocean. And then you like open the doors, and it's just, I mean, it wasn't that close, but holy shit, man, that was a wake up call. But yeah, man, that's when it gets into, after we got up into Oregon on the same road or maybe close to it, it was the equivalent of driving through like Iowa. Like it was flat and desolate. Like there was a town, and then you go like 20 miles and there'd be another town, and it's just like fields of grass and then a cliff and then the ocean. But there's no access to the ocean because you're 40 feet up, 40 stories up.
Right.
So it's like, it's not like it's a beach community because you still have to drive. Like we wanted to go to the beach. It's like, when's the next chance we can look at the water? And it's like, oh yeah, it's an hour and a half. You drive along the top of this cliff for an hour and a half before you can actually get down to the water. So even the real estate that people own there, you'd have to be like a fucking, a rock climber to go down and actually get in the ocean.
Oh, you could build a hell of a fucking, yeah, it'd be great.
Well, remember this. So the year before that,
I do remember.
We met you. You pulled off on the side of the road.
Because I'm not a pussy.
On the one, right? And you're like, oh, we're going to sleep here, wake up in the morning. So we parked next to Josh. And then
always.
In the morning,
always
we woke
shows up late.
What's that?
You always show up late, I said, but I always got a good parking spot, good sleeping spot. I've been
So we wake up and we're like, oh, let's have coffee. And he parked at this gate, and it's like, oh, property for sale, pending sale or whatever. So we go past the gate and we walk up, and it's just this cliffside ocean view of obviously the ocean. So we sit up there, and you can see where like people like party and kind of made a little fire. So we start walking around and looking around, and I shit you not, there was it was a fucking grave, man.
Yeah.
It was 6 feet tall, like 3 feet wide, and probably 5 feet deep.
So they were either getting ready or they had put one in there and then had to dig it out, or they were getting ready to put one in.
And we were touching everything, and I climbed in the hole. I'm like, oh look, what is this for? Is this duck blind? I'm like, what do you think they're doing here?
And I'm
but
like,
you could tell, like
body.
It was
Fuck.
Yeah. Someone's like, oh, they're selling that property on the hill. It's like, oh man, we got to get Johnny's body out of there.
Yeah. Fucking A.
Holy shit. Or we might have been paranoid.
Oh yeah.
But anyway.
We had Big John with us.
Those are my stories of California.
We had Big John with us. Right? That's
Yep.
his name? John. Oh.
Yeah, you had an 8-foot grave for him.
Oh, toe-picking John.
Toe pick.
Oh, toe pick.
So I thought, how you can make your own memes?
Oh, so I got in Warner's van like 3 months later to go out to Colorado, and that Warner's still got John's like toothbrush that he used to pick his foot, and like all this other shit in the side of the door. Dude, it fucking grossed me out. Fuck. The fucking kid, not only did he pick his feet in the van, he left it in your van.
You remember when I kept waving his toothbrush at you when you'd start to get out of line?
I almost fucking barred.
And if you could follow this, I told him a story. Like I look down, I'm in the passenger side of my van, which I never sit in, and I look down and I noticed that John left his stuff from like early the summer tour, like he said 3 months ago. And it's his toothbrush and his tweezers that he was picking his abscess toe with, like while we drove, and like this nasty things that were happening. And good kid though.
He is. He's a great kid.
So I saw it down there, and then I reminded Josh. I'm like, hey Josh, I'm like, remember when John like fucked with his toe for like a week straight, like pouring alcohol on his? And Josh's like, oh God, don't talk to me about it. Oh, it makes me sick.
Ugh.
And so then I just kept talking about it. I was like, oh man. And I told him, like, he used to sit like right here and do this, and I'd put my foot. I'm like, he'd pick it like this and pick it like that, and whatever. And Josh's like, oh my God, stop. And then I reached down and picked up the tweezers. And I'm like, and look, what do you know? I'm like, he left his tweezers here. And I just wave them at Josh. Holy shit, man. I'm surprised he didn't try to kill us both. That was great, man. I just cried a little.
Yeah. Oh man, that reminds me of that gross shit.
We need to get an animator, man.
Yeah, we do. Big time animator. You got to call up your buddy.
Yeah, I'm going to talk to him first.
See what he does. You all right? You got
Ange,
Ange got the COVID.
I was trying to fill the void.
I think he's got the COVID cough. Oh.
All right, I'm back, but
wait. Oh.
Haha, yeah.
He's in there pushing fucking buttons again. He closes. Yeah, he's got the button. He closes his eyes and pushes buttons.
Oh, I got to go listen to it in post.
Yeah.
You could really mess with someone like in an interview if you
no
certain things to egg people on and then unmute it.
That would be muting so you couldn't hear me, but they could hear it on the thing.
Oh.
This was the opposite. You guys could hear me, but it couldn't be heard on the actual.
Oh, right.
So since we're talking about bullshitting, I got one for you.
Imagine that.
All right, right in the corner of Josh's screen is our "Say It, Josh." Kaylee.
We got Kaylee from the White House, press secretary. Kaylee.
All right, this is a 14-second clip.
McBain. Is it McBain or McBain? Kaylee.
Whatever it is.
Kaylee.
Listen up.
Hey.
Say. Absolutely. This president will always put America first. He will always protect American citizens. We will not see diseases like the coronavirus come here. We will not see terrorism come here. And isn't that refreshing when contrasting it with the awful presidency of President Obama? Kaylee McEnany. Say.
And then they throw in the jab. The awful presidency of Obama.
That's great.
These fucking... Isn't that refreshing?
So that was so I made that video, Ryan, on my... screen.
Nice.
So I did the screen.
Oh, you did such a good job.
I did the
Angelo.
screen record and then I zoomed in. And what I just discovered though
He's a
was
zoomer.
I caught that it was like the 12.
You should see what he does on his X-rated.
Crack commandments.
It said the top 12 Hubble telescope photos. Right?
Ooh, Hubble.
So I quickly threw those in there. Then I threw them in the iMovie. I stretched them all the way out like a minute to each one. And then I added that Ken Burns effect.
Kenny.
It just starts at one side, and then over that minute, it zooms in on, the thing. So then you can lay that out. So basically 8 images, that's 8 minutes. So it's 8, whether it's image, photo, whatever.
Fit it.
Anything with it, and especially when I'm talking about the sleep music. You're not trying to show a million things. You just one image, zoom in, over a minute, fade to the next one, zoom in, zoom out, whatever it is. It's pretty sweet.
Right.
And then, Chris laid down some about 20 minutes of some sleep stuff today.
All you get is a 20-minute nap.
But I said, why don't you come by? We'll do 20-minute clips, record them into the system, and then take all those clips and add them to a video, whatever video we make with images. So that's where I'm saying we can start with just
I think it's a good idea.
Those something simple like that. But like I said, even photographs of all the landscaping that your all those photos you got, just simple things like that too. Yeah, man.
Yeah, so get your shit together, Warner.
That's my idea.
Pull that stuff off.
Yeah, so
camera.
obviously, you could do all that shit too.
Yeah, I just looked. Same thing on my camera. I've got 3 minutes and another one of another few 1 minute of the Oregon coast where the rocks are all black.
Yeah,
jet black, and then it's overcast, but it's 6 p.m. or whatever.
Black rocks.
The waves just crashing and then pulling back, pulling back, and revealing all the rocks. But it's crazy, sharp ass black rocks, man.
Is that when I was taking pictures of the ocean from the sand?
Yeah, and then there's a driftwood beach out there.
Oh.
Yeah. You know what look cool is
Tell me,
doing an ocean backwards.
Yeah, from out in the boat.
From the boat.
From the boat?
No. You tape a video.
Oh, rewind.
And then rewind it and watch them go. They're just
in slow.
So it will slowly flood, and then
it'll slowly go. It'll do the same thing.
Slowly flood.
It'll kind of do the same thing,
crash
except for the
backwards.
wave.
It'll do the same thing though.
It'll start to get bubbly and jump up into the air.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah, it'll be reverse, and that's a kind of cool image. I just thinking.
That's a great idea, Angelo.
Thanks. You can do it if you want.
All
With
right.
Some of your ocean.
I got.
Don't you have something ocean?
Oh, I got all kinds of shit.
I think we can put it in and flip it. Reverse. I do have actually an app. There's an app for that.
He's singing the Missy Elliott song. Flip it.
Reverse it.
The Missy Elliott. Yeah,
But there is the reverse it, but it only takes like a few. It's like seconds.
Put your butt down.
You can't just do like an hour of reverse.
Did you know this is our 50th show
5-0.
in a row, Warner?
Whoa. That's the diamond anniversary.
5-0.
But it also goes to show where we're at in this whole pandemic. 50 days, man.
50 days ain't shit, man.
There's some people struggling out there.
50.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But think about how long it's going to be.
That's what I'm saying. And they're like right now, you know, you see all these videos of people just waiting on unemployment, and they can't get through 2 weeks. I mean, I'm hoping everything's kind of taken care of now, but I don't know.
Yeah. Have you seen the memes about that, comparing the Pornhub server to welfare server, not welfare, sorry, unemployment?
Oh yeah, what about it?
Just shows the state of the art servers that Pornhub has. Probably not even Pornhub. It just shows state of the art servers, like just rows and rows and rows of servers, and then it shows the unemployment office, like an old Apple computer, or like the OG Macintosh, like the pale yellow green computers.
Yeah, Well, fuck is that? You got paint peeling off the wall in the.
What's he saying? Josh, you sound like you're underwater.
Oh, I don't know. I kept hearing ladies and.
I can't believe my mic.
Ladies?
I can't believe my mic is so strong.
Yeah, dude, it's loud as fuck.
Well,
in
that's
my ear.
and then, but at the same time, then the ear deal is not getting to you, so it's like something weird about it.
Oh, it's just Josh.
Oh, I got Warner all loud in my ears.
Yeah, he fuck cracking in my ear. Oh, Warner.
Oh, he is. I know why.
Oh.
Okay.
And sits in there and fucks with me.
No, I don't.
he's like, oh, you want to run your mouth, Needham? Watch this.
Okay.
Fucking 20 minutes
like
later.
You don't do that.
Well, you know what? Good thing you don't have the controls. How about that? Good thing you don't have the controls.
Can you imagine that? Someone would have a fucking seizure. You gave Josh the controls for a day?
I'm good with the controls.
Oh God, he'd be like, let's shine this camera through a filter. Let's put this one down here and we'll just look down into it like it's a drain. I put it on top of the drill and it spins around. Can we get this GoPro cordless?
He did tell me today he didn't like the close-ups. He wanted me to lay off the close-ups. He doesn't like looking at his own.
He doesn't like you to say. He doesn't like you to say that out loud, bro.
I don't like the close. No,
I didn't have the mute. I'm sorry. I thought that was behind
know
the
that
scenes.
he cares what people think.
Oh man!
Damn it! That's half of it. We gotta cut this right now.
Yeah.
All right.
Cut it.
If you could catch it on the delay before it plays. Boop, 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 boop.
If anybody gets to the 143 mark and cares, then hey, they gotta love us anyway.
Yeah, they gotta love us. But he's seen it. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Man, the best one was the I just wish I could play that song all the way. That
what, pissing in your eye hole, or
no, even that.
Oh, the Alex Jones. Oh, I like it.
I got that for you there. Yeah, that was right in your ear, Josh.
I like it. Yeah, yeah.
But the funniest thing is, you think those lyrics are ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
He actually said everything in that. It's just the way they sing it is with no emotion, other than like strumming a folk song, indie style guitar, and it's like, it's just an amazing. That one I can revisit every few months and laugh.
Oh.
You know which one we're talking about? The Alex Jones one. Ryan.
The song?
Yeah.
There's like you missed it. Yeah.
No, I heard.
You fucking missed it.
Yeah, but it was someone else singing, right?
Oh yeah.
They auto-tune his voice.
Yeah, I'm not even sure if they auto-tuned his voice or they just took the lyrics and like if the guy actually sang them, it said produced, recorded, and written by the guy Nick something.
You should play it again. Does it talk about when he says the frog? Make the goddamn frogs gay.
Well, he definitely talks about lizard people and eating babies, and Hillary smells.
She does.
And
that's
like
right.
that.
That's the guy that was like she smells.
From InfoWars.
And then oh my God, what a scumbag! What's his name?
Stinky
Alex
Crotch.
Jones.
Oh my
Alex
God,
Jones.
dude! Can you believe that motherfucker, man?
But he just made. That's what I brought up earlier. Was that he made? The better one to like. If we were playing a clip of him, is where he just came and said he would eat his. He was already sizing up his neighbors.
Yeah.
And that his daughters aren't going to be going hungry. I'm already looking at what they're going to look like strung up, and I'm not. Like. And he's just ranting this stuff on his news show that is, a major network. The guy has, in the upwards of multiple millions of followers. He got kicked off YouTube, but what did that lose him? Nothing. Just made more people.
Doesn't he
wanna
sell bogus stuff? Doesn't he sell a bunch of
yep.
tchotchke bullshit?
Yeah,
like,
he
you gotta get this
definitely-
bracelet, and
some,
get this Ovaltine shake.
What is
Ovaltine.
Susquehanna? That's
Susquehanna weed.
Fucking Fugazi.
The Fugazi.
Yeah.
Oh Jesus, that's that one guy talking about weed. This is Susquehanna.
Susquehanna. That's Joey Diaz.
Yeah, and
he's
going,
fucking funny.
And he's like, I don't know what a fucking Susquehanna is, and I laughed my ass off because that's our, Susquehanna River, and it's our neck of the woods. And Joey Diaz is saying
he knows. Joey knows.
That's Shenango Bango.
Yeah.
Except Bango's better.
Yeah, a little bit better.
So Joey Diaz, so he's the one from Midnight Gospel.
He's he plays like those side roles. I don't know if he got a hold.
Get in.
Yeah, shit like that.
Yeah.
He's funny as fuck, is what he is.
He'll tell you he's similar to Josh because he'll tell you stories all day, but philosophy, sometimes he like on where you go when you die and space and that stuff doesn't get him as much, at least from my knowledge of when he talks.
Well, normally that's not like an Italian thing, man. It's
he's
rare. Like for those.
Well, he's
Puerto or right Hispanic.
I thought why did I think he was Italian?
I know he's not.
With a name like Diaz.
He
must have played a gangster in a movie.
I don't fucking know why you did. He was in a movie though. What was he in? He was in The Longest Yard, wasn't he? He was in the right? Yeah.
I've seen him in a few movies. He was also in that the one when Kevin does the MMA, the guy from King of Queens.
Ooh.
With both those guys.
The teacher, right? Kevin's a teacher.
Yeah, he's a
Kevin
teacher.
James.
Yeah,
right?
Kevin James, and he wants to be the. He wants to be that guy.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm gonna want to be that guy and go eat.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but that's what I like about Joe Rogan, man. He's like the.
Tell me what you like about him.
Well, he's not what you would think. You take a look at him. Maybe he looks a little interesting too, so you wouldn't even say
Joe?
that anymore. But he just seems like the type of person that wouldn't be into talking about the afterlife and these crazy theoretical things.
Oh, well,
but because he's real straightforward, he's very matter of fact, and you can tell that like if someone brings up a theory that he knows to be that they mention something that's not true, not that he calls you out on it, but he'll check you. He'll be like, no, he's like, you can't go there, and he almost helps you like construct your thought because he'll be like, I don't know if that's true. I don't think, and he'll keep you on your toes. But at the same time, if you make a plausible like case out of anything, he'll listen and he'll go there with you. But he'll do it in a different way than someone who's just like predisposed to talking about the healing powers of crystals. He's like, oh yeah, totally.
Yeah, heal us.
Yes, crystals heal. Yeah.
Fucking
he'd be like, nah, well, but if you present it in the right way, he'd be like, oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, you're even fucking crazier than I thought.
Yeah, but he'll probably have guests. He'll attract guests like comedians, like stand-up comedians, And like Joey Diaz just seems very straightforward. He seems like just a not straightforward, but
You know what's funny
Like-
is that I start to wonder, because he is a comedian, and sometimes comedians tell stories, and then you laugh, and you're like, wow, that really happened to that guy. That's crazy. But then you kind of like realize that maybe it didn't happen, and they just made it up,
Right.
And like Joey Diaz has his podcast, and the dude, he's got his guy, the control guy that he bounces off of, like, to talk. But basically, even when he has guests, he just talks. Like, the guest doesn't even say anything. Joey talks for the whole
time.
thing. Yeah, the whole time. And the dude can tell stories like
He's a
got
great. That's his
million,
thing, man.
like literally a million stories to where, and you're lining up timelines, and he's saying all this stuff that he used to do.
Yeah,
And
80s.
you're always like
blow.
thinking,
cocaine.
you start wondering,
Definitely.
man, this guy has had like an adventurous action every day of his life, like, to have that many stories, because you're just like, what? Another one? I'm with this guy. We go down here, and it's like every moment.
He's like
That's
60
right, Josh.
something.
That's right,
isn't he?
Josh.
Like, he
That's
told
how
What?
it happens.
What?
He had an interesting one about how back in the 80s you used to be able to walk into stores, and you could just walk up to the shelf and grab anything, and then walk up to the counter and return it and get your money back. And it was just,
without a receipt for the first
no
30 days.
cameras, nobody's watching, nobody knew that you just came in and didn't bring that. Nobody was, so he'd hand it in, and he just said that he went all over the whole, Northwest to every one of whatever the main, department store was, and would just, he goes, they'd start catching on, and they'd want your ID and, or a receipt. And he said, so I'd start waiting in the parking lot for someone to drop a receipt. And then I'd
And
go
then go
look
get
at the
whatever's
receipt
on
and
there?
go get what was on the receipt and return it.
Fucking
And he
clever.
said, he goes, I was just, I got so much money doing that, cash, every day. And he'd say,
Spend it all on blow.
I'd get, super greedy, go in there, buy the most expensive thing on the shelf, some big, huge thing, and carry it up to the counter and return it. Yeah.
What the fuck? Oh shit, that's great.
Yeah.
All right, I'm out of here.
Classic days.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Nap time, Josh?
It's dinner time. Someone like me doesn't nap. Got too much going on in my head to nap.
Man, it'd be cool to do
Nap?
well, yeah, naps are cool, but to do like a review of some of those episodes.
Oh yeah.
Like, almost like, Ryan, we could like watch those episodes and then like go live right after and just talk about them. Have them be like,
What episodes?
the ones Midnight Gospel.
Oh
man.
Jesus!
'Cause
All
there's
right, I'm
this
out
other
of
one.
here.
Yeah, I know you would.
We could do what's it called? Yeah, we could
fuck?
do like the Talking Dead, like the Walking Dead, the Talking Dead, like after.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm working with masking tape.
And
I
so
just
we
took it
wouldn't
off
have,
mute.
it wouldn't be up there. We'd be able to do like a photo or like, anything cool, man.
Yeah.
Do
Warner
it.
I could do
Warner could paint a
a
picture.
painting of it.
Yeah,
Oh, that would
Warner.
be
You
There's
should
sweet.
fan art, dude. Midnight Gospel fan art is on.
Yeah. You should do it. I'll
It's
watch
on
the
the
show
rise,
just
man.
so I
There's
can
a lot
talk
of
about
people
it.
making
Yeah,
stuff.
just dude, you should do a Clancy, man. I want Clancy in my I want a Clancy.
In his bedroom.
See,
he
I was
wants
thinking
it.
of doing.
It's gonna hang it above his bed.
I did one of Aqua Teen, Hunger Force. You ever watch that?
No,
No.
can't say that
Yeah,
I
one
have.
of you ever watched Aqua Teen, Hunger
Aqua
Force?
Teen? No.
Can't say that I fucking have, Warner.
Jesus Christ, man.
What the fuck are you doing over
Master
there?
Shake, Frylock, Meatwad,
No, man.
Meatwad?
Carl.
I've heard of
No?
Meatwad.
I didn't watch that one.
Wow.
See, I skipped the
it's-
big when I grew out of that stuff young, like any kind of like cartoons or I'm not saying like, yeah.
This is
it's like
porn, he says.
2005.
Oh, okay.
Midnight Swim?
Yeah, and then
Swim?
you see, and then I came back
Was that the swim shit?
when I had children. So now my son's 14, so like 14 years ago. Yeah.
What are you
so I
on?
guess-
Okay, so this would
Are
be
you
like, it's
untaping
not
that guy
like,
right now?
Yeah, it's done. I walked away from that. It's so good. It's not like Adventure Time. It's for adults, for sure.
Right. Okay. Okay.
What is it? What
it's
network?
Just a cartoon.
Oh, is it on the Swim
But it
shit
is,
or the?
I mean, it's
Yeah, was it Adult
it's
Swim?
intense.
Is it Adult
Yes.
Swim?
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's the channel. I never.
Squidbillies, that sort of thing.
Right.
But anyway, I don't know why I was talking
have
about it.
seen an episode of with the meatwad in it.
Oh, you said you did a painting of it.
Oh, okay. So that was pretty good fan art, but what everyone's doing is like, doing cartoon, because it's a straight up cartoon. It's a lot like Midnight Gospel. It's just super simple cartoon. But there was a big fan art thing. So what I did, because they had a CD, the DVD came out, and someone painted like the back of it, like the artist from the old He-Man, the guy that did like heavy metal and not heavy metal, He-Man, but Conan the Barbarian. That's who it is.
Okay.
The guy who animated the covers and the books of Conan the Barbarian, like the OG Conan.
All right.
So someone did it in that style, which is a very realistic, like shiny muscles and like just realistic but sci-fi. Someone applied that to Master Shake is a milkshake with eyes and a mouth, and Meatwad is just a ball of meat that changes into anything, and then Frylock is a red fry container with a goatee and eyes and whatever. But they painted it like they were real, but still maintained their fictional shape.
Ooh.
So it's like
real Meatwad.
Yeah, but it was done real, like an old painting. You know what I mean? Like a Rembrandt, not Rembrandt, but just really detailed painting of these like non-existent characters. And I don't know how to explain it, but like the duality of it was really fucking interesting. I want to do that with Midnight Gospel, like make that dude and paint him in like a real portrait painted way, like he sat for a portrait and he had skin. Sometimes they do it with SpongeBob. Like SpongeBob will enter some kind of thing where he's like real, and it's like I don't know. It's hard to explain. But I wanted to do it for Midnight Gospel. Make that pink dude, just make him like a real dude,
right?
Like with like 3-dimensional, that whole thing. But
this real dude's out of here,
dude. I'm down.
I was hoping that you guys had seen, because the box set, the DVD box set.
Josh is out. He keeps saying peace, but he wants us to say bye to him, or he's gonna once again hurt feelings.
Oh shit! You can't get Warder to shush up once he gets going, man. He's like,
butthurt.
Boom, boom, boom.
No, he does.
I'll just go back and play with my masking tape.
Yeah. Get her done.
Yeah, so I lost it. I did. So I ended up cutting you off when he didn't want to cut you off.
Yeah.
Saying that.
That's cool.
But I didn't mean to.
You did.
That's
you
right.
did.
I was just.
Yeah. You were long-winded.
I think you finished, but I was.
Yeah.
I love it.
Like I said, when I brought it up, it should have been short. I should have been like, you guys know Aqua Teen. Like, I fucking love Aqua Teen. I'm like, well, yeah, you know the DVD set? Yeah, I got it at home. I'd be like, let's do one like that.
That's how you should have did it.
Then it would be short.
That's what you should have asked me.
Well, if I asked what? If you have a diabetes? What?
Diabetes. You got diabetes?
Oh, Lord.
Oh.
Yeah, because there was I think that'd be cool. We should run like a thing on the episodes.
I'd love to, man.
Thanks
I really
for
would.
having me.
I'd be all about it.
It'd be cool because we might, if we I could reach. There's other people that I think might be in on those talks too that we could get call-ins. That'd be kind of cool.
Yep. You know who should call in is Randy.
I was yeah.
I mean, talk about having your head on straight when it comes to like political posts and all that. Like, man, he's got it down, man. Not offensive in any way. Just like you can't deny it, but it's like cold. He's got a good game.
He's on the ball. But the coolest thing is that man, he's able. He's just always been a forager and able to like find food in the normal world, man. Like
he came in.
The
with
obvious that like how
something.
how could we have advanced as far as we have without being able to eat everything around us? Where we look around and I don't see anything edible, And he has 6 different things that he's like, oh yeah, you can eat this.
Is Josh still waiting, or did he leave?
No, he left.
Okay. I feel like every time I bring up something, I'm going to be like holding him out. But I was going to say something yesterday. I don't know if I was just listening to it or if it actually, if I was on for it and just didn't get a chance to comment. But you guys were talking about like when we rebuild civilization, right? Like if we had the chance to do it again, would we make it after the same thing, right? But I'm convinced that the next step forward is going to be like 100 steps back. Like, I think we're going to re-enter the Dark Ages.
Right.
Because if society collapses even a little bit to where it's, famine or whatever happens, no one can fund science anymore. No one can fund anything. Like any of these giant marvels. No one's going to build a dam to create hydroelectric electricity or anything like that. We're not going to have the ability because we're going to spend so long trying to make food and get food and just eat and just try to survive. But we have become so accustomed to fucking ordering everything on Amazon and just hitting a button.
Right.
I think we might be in a good spot. Like, we haven't gotten that bad, but I would imagine at some point society's going to get so helpless
now
that when it is time to forage, we're just going to die.
If we started talking about that stuff 4 weeks ago, people would tell us tinfoil hats, that it's going to get that bad. But here we are 50 days in, and this chain reaction, I think we're up to 32,000 or 32 million people went on unemployment. And, I guess we'll have to see if those numbers significantly drop based on these small business loan, kind of go to show how many people really are getting put back to work. But that's part of it too. People that are receiving these loans are putting people back to work, and they're not exactly happy about it,
Yeah, man. Yeah, no shit. It's the meat plants, the meat processing plants.
Yeah, did you hear that one? 375 people in Missouri at a pork plant all tested positive. All were asymptomatic.
What?
Yeah.
Jesus, how does that happen? How do you get 325 people, all of them asymptomatic?
That's what the article said.
They're either catching it early within the 14-day incubation period, or they're just really asymptomatic.
Yeah.
Like they will never show signs.
Yeah, dude. So that I'll tell you again that. Oh man. Yeah, that's Alex Jones. That's what he said. When was it? It was last week. But yeah, you know what? I'm ready. My daughters aren't starving to death. I'll eat my neighbors. And then he had to go on, because he always goes off in these tirades about it. But what I'm saying is that all of a sudden I'm starting to look around, going, remember 6 months ago when we're like, this is just politics and we can all share our opinions, who cares, or freedom of speech, you're not held accountable for that. But the reality is, what if things change and all of a sudden they're just like a Facebook list? All of a sudden they're just like, oh, you're on that list, fuck him, he wanted everything for free anyway, and all of a sudden you're labeled just because you put out what you oh, I agree with this possibility for how we're governed, how our society's governed, and all of a sudden you're some anti. It's crazy.
Yeah, you're marked.
You're marked.
You're a marked man after doing that. It's like, no, you subscribe to this. That's it. It's it for you.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah, no shit, man. Everything is. I think it's funny though, man. I don't think it's funny, but I find it eerily calming to me because I've always had so much anxiety about not so much anxiety, but I don't like answering the phone, man. I don't like going places. I don't like having to do anything.
I don't like having to make a call. Even when I have the money to pay a bill and I just don't want to call the place and pay that bill.
I don't like it. I just put it off, man. I'm I just don't want to do it. I've always been that way, man. I don't like going to people's birthday parties, but once I get there, I have a good time. And then I'm always saying that to my girlfriend, it's like, man, I'm so glad we did this, like it was a lot of fun. Normally it's like, hey, do you want to go out to dinner with so and so and this and that? And I'm like, no, I don't.
It's you know what
like,
it is,
they're
man.
cool, but
it's
no,
like the
thank
whole
you.
concept of everything. It's like once you don't want to like paint that wall until you crack open the can and then you paint it, and then you're like, oh, that was actually nice. Like
what else
even
can I
on
paint?
yeah, like exactly.
Yeah, this hallway looks like shit now that I painted
and
this
then,
room. Yeah.
But part of that is it too. We're comfortable. Like what we've reached, I mean, like, as good as it gets in a way. Even when there's a million things to do and dishes are stacked up, it's like life. It just, we're not fighting to live right now.
Yeah, but
You know what I'm
I
saying?
just find like with the pandemic, since it's happened, it's almost like now all these people that I owe phone calls to, or emails that I'm supposed to respond to, or I was supposed to mail something out. You know what I mean? Like something, and granted, it's on me. Like I'm doing something wrong by not sending something out in a timely manner. But it's like now, it's like, what are they gonna say now? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's like, dude, come on, man. You know what I mean? Like, no one can be like, look, you should be behaving this way during this time. It's
Right.
like, man, you can't tell me that what I'm doing is, it's like, so it's totally plausible. It's like, oh no, hey, sorry, when I resurface, sorry, man, I just buried my head in the sand and, didn't do anything. Like, oh yeah, I heard you on your fucking podcast every day.
Yeah.
Dickhead.
Exactly.
You
You're
want to
like,
tell me
yeah, that's
how
my
great you are?
Yeah, that's because that's because you're getting paid the big bucks to do these special commentations. That's what I heard.
Yeah,
the grapevine.
Right. Had to do it. Had to do it, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, but speaking of that, man, I should let you wrap it up. I still got shit to do.
Yeah. Me too.
Play with masking tape.
Like I said, I'm working on that sleep music and just some different ideas just to make it easy. And like I said, Chris is going to cut it up into 30-minute increments or whatever he's comfortable with, and then we splice it all together. And then I'm going to figure out then I just got to figure out the whole pre-setting it to stream. Yeah.
Yeah, I
So,
think
all
it's
right.
going to be sweet, man. But I'll get to you now that I got to still figure this out about how to get those time-lapse photos off there, but I'm working on that too. Of the lion.
Cool.
But all right, buddy. Take it easy,
All right,
man.
I'm gonna cut this out. I'll play another one of these live Cosmic Theos for the people and everybody out there. So we'll catch you later, Ryan.
All right, buddy. Later, man.
Later. All right, I'm on my own to close this out. I'm gonna give you guys a Cosmic Theo live. Ooh, cranking in live. Let me see. You've been listening to the mAng and Neads Show live on Sonic Gardens Radio. Happy to have everybody. If you haven't subscribed, please do. And we'll see you tomorrow. I'm going to close you out with another Cosmic Theo tune. This is, once again, recorded on 6/15 of 2018. mAng and Neads Show, Sonic Gardens Radio.
we all say everything is awesome. I got things to annihilation. After spirit movie, there's magic brewing. There are fairies in this breeze. I am grateful that I'm alive. Oh, today is the greatest day of my life. Wanna fly higher than I've ever flown before. Wanna dig a little deeper, get closer to the core. Heal all the pain that I tried to ignore. Let love flow through every open door. When it rains, when it rains, oh, when it rains and pours, when I was young, they told me I could do anything that I wanted to. Grown up, in touch, so your own son, know you talk too much. I'm a rainbow, white light, coming on so, but I don't wanna fight this life, this world. We the people take back control. deeper, you're closer to the core. And all the pain that I tried to ignore, let love flow through every open door. You got the magic, you got the magic in you. You got the magic, you got the magic, it's true. You got the magic, you got the magic in you. You got the magic, you got the magic, it's true. You got the magic, you got the magic in you. You got the magic, you got the magic, it's true. You got the magic, you got the magic in you. You got the magic, you got the magic, it's true. You got the magic, you got the magic in you. You got the magic, you got the magic, it's true. You got the magic, you got the magic in you. You got the magic, you got the magic, it's true. You got the magic, you got the magic in you. You got the magic, you got the magic, it's true. You got the magic, you got the magic in you. You got the magic, you got the magic, it's true. You got the magic, you got the magic in you. You got the magic, you got the magic, it's true. You got the magic, you got the magic in you. You got the magic, you got the magic, it's true. You got the magic, you got the magic in you. You got the magic, you got the magic, it's true. You got the magic, you got the magic in you. You got the magic, you got the magic, it's true.
Cool. You know the thing about music, when you love it, you enjoy doing it. And I enjoy doing it.